The previous section highlighted how Russia hoped to sell the Su-57 at an estimated unit cost of around $50 million, which seems low for a fifth-generation fighter jet. However, it remains uncertain whether this price reflects Russia's production costs or the selling price. If it's the latter, the total value of Russia's Su-57 stockpile could reach $2.2 billion, a significant amount that could assist the nation amidst a resource-draining conflict. Yet, there's a glaring issue. For years, Russia has been trying to promote the Su-57, expecting interest from military powers worldwide. The dream was that nations like India and China would be so impressed that they would rush to place orders. With each sale, Russia envisioned a domino effect, inspiring smaller countries to follow suit, eager to acquire what they believed would be a superior jet. Instead, the reality is stark: only one customer has emerged. Algeria stands as the sole nation ready to purchase the Su-57, but even this deal is shrouded in uncertainty. Reports from Times Aerospace in May claimed Algeria confirmed its intent to buy, aiming to receive its first jet by late 2025, with pilots set to train in Russia. However, the number of jets remains ambiguous, with rumors suggesting a maximum of 14 to replace retired MiG-25s. Yet, skepticism arises as the Eurasian Times noted that Algeria's order has not been officially confirmed, raising eyebrows about the authenticity of this supposed deal. Why is Algeria hesitating? If the Su-57 is the game-changer Russia claims, wouldn't Algeria be eager to secure as many as possible? The cautious approach signals a lack of faith in the jet's capabilities. Rather than rushing to boast about acquiring advanced technology, Algeria's silence hints at apprehension. Are they waiting to see if the Su-57 can truly deliver on its promises before committing further? As the Su-57's fate hangs in the balance, a comparison looms large: the US F-35. While the Su-57 lingers in uncertainty, the F-35 has been embraced by 19 countries, establishing a robust presence around the globe. With over 1,230 units delivered and nearly 3,100 certified pilots trained, the contrast is stark. The F-35's success raises an unsettling question: what went wrong for the Su-57? Initially, Russia had high hopes for the Su-57, which was developed in conjunction with India. Together, they aimed to create a formidable fifth-generation fighter. But in a shocking turn of events, India withdrew from the project in 2018, citing concerns over cost, engineering flaws, and outdated engines. This decision was a significant blow, suggesting that even India doubted the jet's potential. Despite these setbacks, Russia believed it could still secure sales to India. But as of mid-August, reports surfaced indicating that India was pivoting away from the Su-57, instead eyeing the French Rafale M. The winds of change were blowing, and whispers of interest in other jets like the F-21 or Gripens emerged, signaling a shift in India's defense strategy that could leave Russia out in the cold. As the drama unfolds, the question remains: can the Su-57 redeem itself? Or will it fade into obscurity, a ghost of promises unfulfilled? The stakes are high, and with each passing day, the narrative grows more complex. Will Algeria step up, or will the solitary order vanish into the void, leaving Russia to grapple with the haunting specter of its ambitious fighter jet? Previously, we saw that Algeria's purchase of the Su-57 is shrouded in uncertainty. Reported plans suggest they might buy just 6 jets initially, with an option for 8 more later. This hesitation is telling. Why wouldn't they jump at the chance to arm themselves with Russia's touted fifth-generation fighter? Could it be that Algeria silently doubts what Moscow claims about the jet's true capabilities? This uncertainty deepens when no official paperwork confirms the deal. Algeria, with a modest military, remains almost silent about acquiring a fleet that should reshape power dynamics on its continent. Fifth-generation fighters are rare in Africa, making this a golden opportunity to dominate the skies. Yet, instead of loud celebrations, there's a strange quietness, as if Algeria is reluctant to be the Su-57's launch customer, perhaps even embarrassed. Why would a nation, eager to project power, hesitate so much? What flaws could the Su-57 possibly have to cause such a cold reception? Before we explore those doubts, it's crucial to see how the Su-57 fares against its American rival, not by firepower, but by numbers and sales. The South Carolina-made F-35 has taken the world by storm. Adopted by 19 countries beyond the US, it stands as one of the most widely embraced fifth-generation fighters ever. This widespread acceptance isn't accidental. The F-35's development was a multinational endeavor, binding several partner nations into its success. Meanwhile, Russia hoped the Su-57 would blow past these sales numbers, but reality paints a starkly different picture. What would it take for the Su-57 to break free from this shadow? Can Russia overcome the sales drought and buyer skepticism? Or is this fighter doomed to remain a ghost jet, desired by few and trusted by fewer? The answers are far more unsettling than you might expect, and the next chapter reveals the painful truths that Russia desperately wants to hide. The contrast between the F-35 and the Su-57 is stark, not just in capabilities but also in global acceptance and production success. The F-35, the American marvel, has been embraced by 19 nations aside from the United States, making it one of the most sought-after fighter jets globally. It's not just popular, it's ubiquitous, with over 1,230 units deployed across 20 nations and stationed at 50 military bases around the world. Can you imagine the drone of over 1 million flight hours logged by nearly 3,100 certified pilots and over 19,100 maintenance technicians? It's a scale Russia could only dream of for its Su-57, yet sadly, that dream remains distant. While the F-35 debuted in 2015, with its variants rolling out in quick succession, the Su-57's journey is far less impressive. Although many might think the Su-57 only began its sales journey in 2025, it actually first flew in 2020. So far, it has managed just a single sale to Algeria, 6 jets with the option for 8 more, all occurring at a painfully slow rate of a little over 1 per year. When you tally up the inventory, Russia has only built 44 Su-57s, translating to a production rate of 8.8 jets annually. That's merely a fraction of what the F-35 achieves. This disparity in demand raises eyebrows and casts doubt on the Su-57's desirability. Intriguingly, Algeria was never meant to be the Su-57's first international customer. That honor was intended for India. Initially, the Su-57 was a collaboration between Russia and India, leveraging Russian manufacturing experience and Indian investment. However, India's withdrawal in 2018 sent shockwaves through Russia. The Indian Air Force deemed the Su-57 too expensive and poorly designed, reflecting a lack of confidence in Russia's promises. As the winds of change swirled, India pivoted to other options, most notably the French Rafale M, leaving the Su-57 stranded in the no-man's land of military aviation. It's alarming. What went wrong for Russia's golden fighter? What factors are keeping potential buyers at bay? As rumors swirled of India jumping ship to alternate fighter projects, the question loomed, could the Su-57 ever rise to prominence, or was it doomed to be a cautionary tale in the skies? Demand for the Su-57 falls dramatically behind its American rival, the F-35, nearly 14 times fewer aircraft sold each year. This stark gap grows even more glaring when you realize that Algeria was never supposed to be the first foreign buyer of Russia's prized fighter jet. That honor was meant for India. But what happened to that plan? Years ago, Russia and India joined forces to create a fifth-generation fighter that could rival the best in the world. Russia brought decades of experience in building fighters, while India invested heavily to keep the project alive and commercially promising. The dream was shared, until it shattered in April 2018. Suddenly, India pulled out, shocking both partners. According to insiders from the Indian Air Force, the Su-57 was overpriced, plagued by poor engineering, and powered by outdated, unreliable engines. The warning signs had been there all along, but India finally saw the truth. This jet wasn't what Russia claimed it would be. Still, Russia clung to hope. Even after India's exit, they believed they could convince the country to return or at least spark interest elsewhere. By 2025, it seemed Russia was on the brink of a breakthrough far more significant than Algeria's tentative deal. India reportedly favored the Su-57 over the American F-35. The reasoning? India's defense budget simply couldn't stretch to the costly U.S. fighter. The Su-57 seemed like the smarter, cheaper choice. But then came a sudden, crushing blow. Mid-August brought news that shattered Russia's dreams. India was no longer interested. instead of the Su-57. It chose the French-made Rafale M to strengthen its air force. Rumors swirled that India might also consider the F-21 or Gripen jets, options that would divert funds away from Russia entirely. Imagine the tension in Moscow as hopes for a lucrative deal slipped through their fingers. Could Russia salvage this faltering project, or was the Su-57 destined to remain a symbol of broken promises? What secrets lie behind India's abrupt change of heart? The next chapter reveals the conditions India imposed, and why Russia's fighter still struggles to meet expectations. Just when it seemed like India was ready to embrace the Russian Su-57, a sudden demand shattered all expectations. Instead of sealing the deal, India threw down a challenge: overhaul the core components of this fighter jet, starting with the heart of its detection system, the radar. Imagine a machine touted as cutting edge, yet its very eyes, the radar system, are mistrusted by its potential buyer. The renowned Bielka radar, a supposed marvel embedded in the Su-57, became the focal point of doubt. Insiders from India revealed this radar, known as N036 Bielka, relies on gallium arsenide technology that, in their eyes, falls short in critical areas. It doesn't spot distant targets far enough, it drains too much power, and it falters in electronic warfare resilience. All basic expectations for a next-generation fighter's radar. This is no minor flaw. It's a glaring shortcoming that strings a thread of mistrust through the entire project. India's skepticism wasn't born overnight. It's been shadowed by these concerns since 2018, the very year it withdrew from joint development. Russia had promised a revolutionary fifth-generation fighter, but what was delivered? Barely a meaningful step beyond older jets and certainly no rival to the American F-35. This is why India hesitates, why no one else is rushing toward the Su-57. The reasons run deep. One is stealth technology, an essential lifeline for modern fighters to dominate airspace undetected. Stealth means hiding in plain sight, slipping past enemy radars before launching deadly strikes. And that all depends on a fighter jet's radar cross-section. Or RCS, the measurement of how visible the aircraft is to hostile radar. The smaller the RCS, the more invisible the jet. The American F-35 boasts an unbelievably tiny radar signature, almost like a ghost painted on skies, making it nearly impossible to track. The Su-57, however, is far larger in this regard, making it more prominent to enemy detection. This isn't just a technical detail, it's the difference between life and death in air combat. How can Russia expect others to invest millions in a jet that struggles to vanish in enemy skies? So, here we have a fighter with questionable eyes, a shadowed reputation, and stealth capabilities that fail to match the gold standard. Will Russia ever overcome these deep hesitations? Can the Su-57 truly become the star of modern aerial warfare, or is it doomed to linger in the shadows of failure? As whispers of hope fade and doubts grow louder, a critical question lingers: is the Su-57 a breakthrough or a broken promise? The answer might change the balance of air power around the world. What's next for Russia's grand gamble? Imagine a fighter jet that's supposed to disappear on radar like a ghost but ends up standing out like a neon billboard in the night sky. That's exactly the problem with Russia's Su-57. While America's F-35 boasts a radar footprint almost as small as a golf ball, just 0.0015 square meters, the Su-57 casts a shadow between 0.1 and 0.5 square meters. To put it bluntly, the Su-57's radar signature is up to 100 times bigger. Any radar operator can spot it miles away. How can you dominate the skies when you're shouting "look at me" to every enemy radar? On the battlefield, the Su-57 barely lives up to its lofty promises. Instead of dogfighting or slipping stealthily into enemy defenses, it mainly relies on firing cruise missiles from a distance. This was the jet's limited role in Ukraine, more of a distant missile launcher than a deadly, agile predator of the skies. But why invest in a fifth-generation fighter if it can't strike deep behind enemy lines or challenge enemy jets head-on? Fourth-generation jets can do that just as well. This makes the Su-57 feel less like a groundbreaking weapon and more like an expensive showpiece. Production problems only add to the jet's troubles. Some of the Su-57s Russia has received are missing vital parts. Due to sanctions, entire batches have been delivered without key systems like the 101 KSN, crucial for targeting and defense, Imagine getting a brand new car with the engine missing. If Russia's own air force can't field fully functional jets, why would anyone else want to risk buying them? Experts haven't been kind. The National Security Journal didn't hold back when it labeled the Su-57 the worst stealth fighter on Earth. The jet's radar signature could, in some cases, be 1,000 times larger than the F-35's, completely blowing any claims of stealth out of the water. The Su-57 is essentially a fourth-generation fighter trapped inside a flashy fifth-generation hype train. But here's the twist, it's not just the jet's performance that's haunting Russia. Harsh international sanctions have slammed the brakes on production, stopping Russia from legally buying critical components. Could these sanctions be the silent killer of Russia's stealth dreams? What happens to a fighter jet when it can't get the parts it needs to be more than just a clunky aircraft? The story only deepens from here. How did the Su-57 fall so far from its ambitious goals? And what does this mean for Russia's future in the world of advanced warfare? Stay with me, because the next chapter unravels the surprising truth behind the jet's sales, or startling lack of them, and the unexpected customer that's standing alone in the Su-57's shadow. Last time, we uncovered how the Su-57's so-called stealth is little more than a mirage, a fourth-generation fighter cleverly disguised in fifth-generation hype. Yet, the jet's faltering reputation isn't just about tech shortcomings. International sanctions have slammed the door on Russia's ambitions to churn out these jets. But how deep does this crisis go? Imagine this, almost a year ago, revelations surfaced exposing just how crippled the Su-57's production really is. An open-source group known as Frontelligence Insight dug into the details. The shocking truth? Russia cannot legally obtain essential parts needed for the jet. These include precision components like the WA-36 attenuator and the PLR-760-12 and EAPS-3150 power supplies. Why do these matter? Because they're integral to a German-made radar device that is the jet's electronic eyes and ears. Can you hear that? The grinding halt reverberating through Russia's defense industry as these missing pieces cause major delays. Even if buyers were banging down the door, Russia simply can't build enough Su-57s fast enough to meet demand. And forget hopeful workarounds, sneaking parts through third parties and underground channels is slow, risky, and rarely scalable. Here's where it gets even trickier. Take Algeria, the lone customer loudly touted as proof of the Su-57's global appeal. But have you noticed how quiet Algeria has become? Their supposed order of 14 jets remains undelivered years later. What kind of image does this paint? A military waiting endlessly, forced to trust a promise that never quite materializes. Meanwhile, rivals could be acquiring superior jets from other sources, leaving Algeria stuck in limbo. And India? Once a partner and big hope for Russia, India isn't just hesitant, it's weighing very real doubts. While Russia jumps through technical and bureaucratic hoops, India's gaze drifts towards other aircraft far less entangled in these issues. The whisper on the wind, Russia has lost access to over 60% of the critical sensors, modules, and microchips that power the Su-57. Reliability? It's unraveling. Can a jet survive when its heart, the electronic components, are disappearing? The struggle to keep the Su-57 alive isn't just about hardware, it's a race against time and global sanctions. Will Russia manage to claw back control, or has the door slammed shut on its fighter jet dream? The next chapter reveals the full extent of this high-tech nightmare. Imagine holding a powerful weapon, yet fearing to use it. Russia believed its Su-57 fighter jet was a game-changer, a sleek, fifth-generation marvel to rival the American F-35. But what if the crown jewel of your Air Force sat mostly unused, gathering dust rather than dominating skies? What if, instead of selling this prize to eager buyers worldwide, you ended up with just one hesitant customer? The story of the Su-57 is one of dashed dreams and harsh realities. Previously, we saw the immense challenges Russia faces with its Su-57. Losing access to crucial components and facing serious reliability issues puts the jet's future in serious doubt. Now, the question Russia must confront is staggering: should it sell its limited stockpile, and lose the ability to even deploy the fleet itself, or hoard the jets as their relevance fades with every passing day? Both choices lead to defeat. The Su-57's combat record is almost non-existent. It barely appeared in the Ukraine conflict, a few cautious sorties launching missiles from miles away in the safety of airbases. Such timid use gives no real proof of its power. Worse, inside Russia, many fear deploying the jet aggressively could backfire. Why? Because losing even one Su-57 to Ukraine would be catastrophic. Imagine Ukraine seizing a top-tier Russian fighter, evidence that it isn't the unstoppable beast it's marketed to be. That kind of defeat would kill any chance of foreign buyers lining up. Now think about Russia's manufacturing struggles. The country already struggles to produce enough jets. And doubts about reliability under fire haunt the Su-57's reputation. It's like building a Ferrari that keeps breaking down before it hits the racetrack. Even more chilling, the jet might be simply unwanted by Russia's most promising potential customers, China and India. Both countries are crafting their own fifth-generation fighters. They don't need the Su-57, no matter what Russia hopes to sell. Picture the tension, Russia caught in a trap, clutching a high-tech prize that might as well be heavy metal scrap. Can Russia reinvent the Su-57 story, or is its fate sealed by these hurdles? The next chapter reveals why nations hesitate, and why this fighter, hailed as Russia's crown jewel, is failing to ignite the global market. Will Algeria, the shy suitor so far, take the leap? Or will Russia be forced to watch its dreams fly away like smoke on the wind? Previously, we saw how Russia's hopes for the Su-57 soared, only to crash against harsh realities. The jet, burdened by technical flaws and a shrinking pool of buyers, now finds itself abandoned by its biggest potential customers, China and India. But why exactly have these two powerful nations turned away from Russia's prized fighter? Let's dive deeper. China unveiled its own fifth-generation fighter, the J-35A, in November 2024. This sleek, homegrown aircraft represents Beijing's ambition to dominate the skies with technology tailored precisely to its needs. Meanwhile, India is racing ahead with its Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft program. After opening bids in June, India aims for the jet's maiden flight by 2029. Both countries clearly prefer their own designs over the Russian Su-57, which struggles with outdated engines, unreliable systems, and production bottlenecks. Imagine the frustration inside Kremlin walls. Russia's Su-57 was supposed to be a symbol of power and innovation. Instead, it has become a cautionary tale, a fighter jet that stumbled out of the gate and now serves as undeniable proof that Russia can no longer count on allies to buy what it builds. The dream of exporting the Su-57 to big players vanished before it even began. But Russia's troubles don't stop there. Even among its few remaining allies, cracks are appearing. Hungary, one of the rare European Union members to stand by Russia during the prolonged Ukraine conflict, has unexpectedly turned its back. The trigger? A phone call from the former U.S. President, Donald Trump, which set off a chain reaction that shifted Hungary's stance. What does this mean for Russia's military ambitions and its already faltering defense industry? Can the Kremlin recover from these setbacks, or is the Su-57 saga just the beginning of a greater collapse in influence? Stay tuned as we explore the fallout from these betrayals and what lies ahead for Russia's military future.